Nola is my favorite place.
Why is your favorite place?
Because I get to do activities.
Good afternoon, I'm Dr. Calvin Mackie of STEM Nola. Welcome to STEM Nola at Home once again. I'm so happy to be here. Today we'll be talking about heart and circulation. I know we had advertised that we were going to do rockets, but we have a big surprise when we do Rocket Day, so we have to push that off. But today we're going to do heart and circulation. I got some great friends with me today. First and foremost, I want to address what's going on in this country. We are all human beings. We are all imperfect. We are all mistakes. Now, we all make mistakes, and I would say all of us get up every day and try to become a better person, become more tolerant of everybody else's perspective as they make it through this world. The things that I've experienced in my life, I know I never want for my two sons. So that's why I get up every day and try to make this world a better place. And I hope all of you all will join me and us and the STEM Nola staff in doing your part to make this world better, not only for us, but for everybody to come behind us. STEM Nola was founded 6 years ago with the purpose to expose and inspire and engage communities in hands-on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. In the last 6.5 years, we've engaged over 40,000 kids, 10,000 families, and over 1,000 STEM professionals and college students. We hire college students as college interns. You'll meet one of them today. And we pay them anywhere from $10 to $15 an hour. In the last 6.5 years, we put over $700,000 in the hands of college students working with us for our children. So that's our goal and that's our mission. Parents, if you're watching, we want you all to know that it's very important that you have to train your kids from the neck up and not the neck down. In the 21st century, our children will have only 3 options. Either they're gonna take something, break something, and/or make something. If we don't give all our kids the skills and the education and the inspiration to make something in the future, they're only gonna leave them with the 3 options that we see on the news every night now, and that's taking and breaking. I have with me my little friend. This is my little friend, Alpha, made by one of our partners, UB Tech. And Alpha is a humanoid. A humanoid is a robot that tries to act like a human. If you're only training yourself from the neck down, this is your competition and you cannot win. Yes, Alpha is only 14 inches tall, but UB Tech and other companies are making robots to do the manual labor that many of our parents did, that our kids won't be able to do. So in the 21st century, either we're gonna control the robots or the robots are gonna control us. And with COVID, we believe that automation would be exacerbated. Somebody needs to check. Somebody said they can't hear. We believe automation in the workforce would be exacerbated. So that's why we work hard to make sure that our children are exposed. 1 minute, I believe we're working on the volume. Do we have volume? Yes. Yeah, so before I move on, I'd like to say we've been getting kids and parents from all over the country, but today we have students from Ghana, West Africa. Now I'd like to say hello to all our friends in Ghana, West Africa. I had the opportunity to go to Ghana in 1999. I've made some great friends in Ghana, and we look forward to creating STEM Ghana with my friend Deja over in Ghana. Thank you all for tuning in, and we look forward to working with you all. So, are we good? I'd like to introduce my friend. What about the kids?
Yeah, the kids.
Last week, we had kids from all over the nation. We want you all, when you build your heart today, we want you all to send us pictures. Last week, we did the power of when, and we had Leela Awad from the Episcopal School of Baton Rouge send us a picture, and we had the entire Pettis family from St. John Parish School System send us pictures. We're happy that you all chimed in, and we're happy that you all are getting benefit from the activities that we are leading. Our ultimate goal is to find sponsors, and parents, when you register your kids, our ultimate goal is to send the materials across the country to you so you don't have to scramble and find the materials. Our kids have to stay engaged during this COVID-19 period. So thank you to all of the students from last week, and thank you all for sending us pictures. And definitely this week, send us pictures. Send us pictures to webinar@stemnola.com. Take some pictures of you engaged and send them out. We like it, and more importantly, our sponsors like it. And make sure you take a picture of me on your computer, because I like that too. All right, thank you. So today I have a special friend with me. And this guy's name is Dr. Eric Griggs. He's an amazing person, a very special person. Dr. Griggs grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He has a BS in English from a little school by the name of Notre Dame. He played football for Notre Dame. We're not gonna hold that against him. And he got his MD from Tulane University right here in the city of New Orleans. And for the last 25 years, he's been going around this country, engaging communities and health education. And he does an amazing job teaching people about why health is important. He was talking about health disparities long before COVID came along, and we just happened to have him on the team. And remember, we got to social distance, and we have to wear our mask, and we got to keep everybody away from us. Thank you all. Now let's talk about heart and circulation. Dr. Griggs.
After all those comments about Notre Dame, I'm just waiting on you to get away. How y'all doing? I was waiting on Dr. Mackie to do his push-up demonstration. And Doc, you ready? You got to help me with the push-up demonstration?
I do.
Yeah? You might. Welcome. We're talking about the heart today. We're talking about the heart and the circulatory system in light of everything that's going on. We're not just talking about cultures, races, and people. There's this little thing called COVID-19 that's going on. It's called novel because we're seeing it for the first time in human beings. It's interesting and timely that Nola that we decide to talk about the circulatory system today, because just today on television, I was talking about how they're finding that though it was a respiratory virus, initially it gets in through your lungs, and we talked about it, but it's affecting our circulatory system. Our circulatory system describes a system of our heart. Our heart is at the center. As the blood vessels go out further and further, they get smaller and smaller and smaller. And what we find is that COVID-19 is causing clots. Clots are a collection of cells, blood cells, that stick together, and they make little like rocks inside the blood vessels, and they can cause problems. When they get to the lungs, they stop the oxygenation. And we talked about oxygenation and respiration with lungs, and we connected it to the heart, and I'll explain a little bit of that today. Our heart is called the circulatory system. Why? Because everything goes in a circle. Makes sense. It's amazing the way it works. So I want everyone, hi to our friends in Ghana, hi in California, North Carolina, put your shirt, no, leave your shirt on. Louisiana, Texas, Florida. We want everyone to wave, and I want you to leave that hand up. I'm going to tell you an amazing fact that probably most of, or a lot of you parents didn't know. Your heart is custom made to you. And it's something that we all have in common, and that's a commonality we have, like COVID-19 is going against human beings. We're all living human beings, and we all have a heart. So I want you to take your hands and do it away. With your left hand, do it the other way. And now I want you to make a fist. And I want you to repeat after me. Your heart.
Your heart.
There it is, Dr. Mackie. Oh, he taught him something at Georgia Tech. Yeah, your heart. Yeah.
Your heart.
Yeah, no, has 4 parts.
Has 4 parts.
A right atrium.
Right atrium.
A right ventricle.
Right ventricle.
A left atrium.
A left atrium.
And a left ventricle.
The left ventricle.
Your heart, make a fist. See that? See that? He skipped that class. Your heart.
Your heart
is the size of your fist.
Your fist.
Now this is the part where I pull out my sign, parents and kids. I want y'all to go, ooh. When I hold it the other way, I say, ah. So let's do it again. Your heart is the size of your fist.
Your fist. Woo.
There it is.
Ah.
Let's do it one more time.
Woo.
Yeah.
Ah.
Your heart's the size of your fist. Your heart beats about 1 million times a year. Every day, all day, and it doesn't go to sleep. It's a working organ. And when I said it works with the respiratory system, it helps to bring this important thing, this little thing that's important to all of the body called oxygen. Remember those 4 parts I was telling you about? Georgia Tech? You remember those 4 parts I was talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it again.
Right
Right
atrium.
Right.
Ventricle.
Stop your foot. Right ventricle. Left atrium.
Left atrium.
Left ventricle.
Left ventricle.
So what happens is when your heart in the circulatory system makes the circle, blood without oxygen comes into the right,
Atrium.
goes down to the right,
Ventricle.
goes back to the lungs for oxygen. Once it gets oxygen, it comes through the left,
Atrium.
then goes down to the left,
Ventricle.
then it goes out to the body.
Body.
And then you, damn, because you know what you're doing. I've learned a little rhythm playing with the heart. Let's do it again. Blood, it makes the circle. After it finishes with the body and all the oxygen comes out, it goes back to the right,
Atrium.
then it goes down to the right,
Ventricle.
then back to the,
Lungs.
for more,
Oxygen.
then to the left,
Atrium.
down to the left,
Ventricle.
then out to the,
Body.
and then we,
Yeah.
that's how the body and the circulatory work. If the body does not get enough oxygen, things don't work the way that they should. And as you're hearing about this COVID-19, this virus, you'll hear about people with foggy thinking. They can't think clearly. Or you might hear about them being short of breath. You might hear about them having strokes, which are caused by those clots that jam up the blood vessels in the inside. And sometimes it can cause really bad paralysis. Sometimes people can even die. You can hear about these things called COVID toes, where the blood vessels get blocked up and they swell up and they hurt. And sometimes, sadly, even in kids, you can hear about this thing called Kawasaki's disease or Kawasaki-like syndrome, like motorcycle. Took a picture. Or a multi-systemic organ disease. Everywhere in your body needs blood. So everywhere in your body needs oxygen, and this virus goes everywhere where you have a blood system. Before I leave, I'm going to see how well we learn. Take your hand up. Wave at me. Hey, how you doing? All right. Yeah, I see you in the back. Yeah, put your pencil. Put that down. There you go. Yeah, all right. Now, make a fist. Your heart is the size of your fist.
Your fist. Ooh. Ah.
Do it again.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ah. Your heart has 4 parts.
Has 4 parts.
A right atrium,
Right atrium.
right ventricle,
Right ventricle.
left atrium,
Left atrium.
left ventricle.
Left ventricle.
The heart is the central part. Say it in the back. Go ahead. Way from New York. Say it again. Say what?
The heart
Is the center of the circulatory system, which means that your blood goes in a circle. Oh, interesting, crazy fact. Did you know there are 60,000 miles of blood vessels in your body? 60,000 miles. I just found this out the other day. That's worthy of a, you don't believe me. He skipped another class. Ooh. I don't know what. Again, the blood comes into the right,
atrium.
goes down to the right,
Ventricle.
goes to the, back to the
Lungs.
for.
Oxygen.
Once it gets oxygen, it comes to the left, then to
Atrium.
the left,
Ventricle.
then out to the,
Body.
and then you, yeah. And I gotta go, y'all. I gotta go. Dr. Mackie, help. Lamaya, somebody.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be back with you guys today. My name is Lamaya Hall, and just like Dr. Griggs and Dr. Mackie talked about, we are talking about the heart today. So before we begin, let's go on ahead and talk about our agenda. So first thing we're going to do, order of business, we're going to talk about some vocab terms. I'm going to show you guys a real live heart dissection too. As you can see, I have a heart in front of me. Then we're gonna go over our objectives, which are like our goals for the day. So then we have some activity questions and answers. These are questions that you guys should be reviewing and thinking about as you're doing your project today, that you should be able to answer by the end. Then we'll actually go into our experiment to build our mechanical heart, and then we'll review our activity questions and answers. Then we'll have time for you guys to actually ask Dr. Mackie or Dr. Griggs some questions so that they can answer it for you. All right, so let's start with our vocab terms. So our first vocab term is cardiovascular system. What does that mean? I want you guys to say it with me. Cardiovascular system. So what does that mean? That's basically the organs and things necessary in your body to deliver blood and oxygen throughout your entire body. So your cardiovascular system is made up of blood vessels, and the heart. So what is the heart? The heart is the organ in your body that pumps blood throughout your body, like the blood in your fingertips, blood in your toes, blood in your head, all of that. So next, there's blood vessels in our cardiovascular system. What are blood vessels? They're basically like tubes. And this is what, so the heart will pump and these tubes go all throughout your body, and the blood will travel through these tubes, right? Like I said, that's the blood in your toes, your fingertips, in your head, all over your body. So there are two types of blood vessels we have. We have arteries and we have veins. So arteries, away. A, arteries, away. So that means that your arteries are carrying the blood away from your heart, right? So these are carrying the blood throughout to the rest of your body, right? So veins carry blood to your heart. So the veins is once the blood goes throughout your body, delivers all the oxygen it can, it's gonna come back up and come to the heart. So when it comes back up and goes to the heart, it's going to go through the veins, right? So the last thing we're gonna talk about is the aorta. So you may have heard this word before, but it's actually, the aorta is the largest artery in your body, and it takes blood from the heart and it spreads it throughout the body, right? So we talked about arteries carrying blood away from the heart. Your aorta is the largest artery, and when your heart pumps, it beats, it pumps blood throughout your entire body, so it has to go through the aorta first. All right, so now it is time for our, let's do our question first before we go into our dissection. So let's make sure you guys were paying attention. What does your heart do? Y'all answer that for me. Does it pump blood throughout your body? Does it protect your organs? Does it help move your fingers? What does it do? Give you guys a couple more seconds. Make sure you get your answers in. Right. Everybody got it right. Your heart pumps your blood throughout your body. That is correct. So now let's look at a real heart. So right here in front of me, I have an actual heart. It has a little juice on it, but it's okay. This is from a sheep. So this sheep donated its body to science so that we can learn. So as you can see, this heart is actually equivalent to a human heart. It has the 4 chambers. It's about the same size, which is why a sheep heart is a great tool for us to use while we're teaching about the heart to students. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to show you some things about the heart, and then I'm going to cut it open, then I'm going to show you what it looks like on the inside. Then I'm going to tell you guys what's going on in there. So I'm going to make 2 cuts. So I'm going to make a cut on the right side of the heart, and I'm going to make a cut on the left side of the heart. So we make our cuts, we start at the auricle, which is like an ear-like, it looks kind of like an ear at the top of the heart, and then I go down and all the way to the bottom to what you call the apex right here, which is the bottom of the heart. As you can see, there's like some juice dripping. It's just preservative so that the heart won't break down. So as you can see, this right here is the left side of the heart. It's really big. You see the cords, you see the strings, you see all types of things in here. So now we're going to cut the right side, and you're going to see a big difference in these 2 sides of the heart. So this right here is the right side of the heart. And if you can see, I'm only showing a small portion, which are the ventricles, because the atriums are really hard to see on the heart. So what you can really see are the ventricles. So what I'm going to show you today, you saw how this left side of the heart was really big. The walls right here on the outside are really thick compared to this right side. It's smaller. You see it's harder for me to open. The wall is very thin. So why is that? That's because the left side of your heart is really doing all of the work, right? So your right side of the heart, like we said, it goes from the right atrium to the right ventricle, then it goes to the lungs. So it's going to the lungs to get oxygen. The lungs is really close to the heart, so it doesn't have to go far, it doesn't have to do too much pumping to get there. However, the left side of the heart, it comes back, it goes to the left atrium, then it goes to the left ventricle. So once it goes to the left ventricle, then it pumps blood throughout your entire body, right? So at that point, it's doing a lot of work because you got to get the blood all the way down to your toes, all the way to your fingertips, all the way to your head, and all in between there. So it's going to take a lot more muscle. Your heart is a muscle. So it's going to take a lot more muscle to do that, which is why you see that this left side is so much bigger than your right. And we also talked about the aorta. So our aorta is our largest artery, which means it carries blood away from the heart, right? So if I stick my finger, it's a magic trick. If I stick my finger in the correct hole of the aorta and I open the left side of the heart, you should be able to see my finger just like this come through the left side. So as you can see, it's stuck on my finger. I open it up and you can see that. So this is the heart. I love doing the heart dissection. It's actually one of my favorites. We use a scalpel, which is very sharp, to cut open the heart because the walls are so thick. So now that we're done with this heart dissection, I'm going to remove my gloves. And now we're going to talk about our objectives for today. So before we begin our objectives, let's ask you guys a question. Make sure y'all are paying attention when we talked about the agenda. What are we building today? I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds to answer this question. Are you building a simple circuit? Are you building a stethoscope? Are you building a mechanical heart? Which one? Give you guys a couple more seconds. Oh, it ended. That is correct. We are building a mechanical heart today. So let's go on ahead and go over our objectives. So our first objective is we want you guys to understand the definition of cardiovascular system, heart, blood vessels, and the aorta. And we're going to apply them to the experiment that we're doing today. We also want to be able to perform that experiment and create our own mechanical heart. So those are our two goals for today. So let's go over some questions. So keep these questions in your mind. You may want to write them down. You may want to screenshot it, take a picture, whatever, because you'll have to answer these questions at the end of the session after we finish our mechanical heart. So the first question is, what does the middle bottle represent? The second question is, what does the full bottle, which will be on your left-hand side when you actually do your experiment, what does that represent? You'll also have an empty bottle. So what does that bottle represent? And then our hands are going to play a part in our experiment as well today. So what do our hands represent? Give you guys a couple seconds. All right. So let's go on ahead and begin. I want you guys to start gathering your materials. And then we're going to talk about what's the science behind everything that we're doing. So our materials today, we need 3 soda bottles or water bottles. I have 3 water bottles, soda bottle, water bottle, it doesn't matter. You're going to need 4 bendy straws. If it's not a bendy straw, then it will not work. correctly because the straw will be pinched and it can't flow through. You'll need some water. If your water bottles are full, just keep them full. Don't worry about emptying them. But if you have empty water empty water bottles, you're gonna want a measuring cup or just a glass full of water. You're gonna need some food coloring. It's okay if you don't have the food coloring, but it's a better visual when you do. A spoon to stir, or I have a popsicle stick to mix your food coloring if necessary. We have a clay ball or some Play-Doh will work. You can also use tape if you don't have either of those. That's completely fine. You don't need the clay or the Play-Doh. I can show y'all a trick. You want some clear tape or any kind of tape that you have. And you also want a pair of scissors. So, all right. So while you're gathering these materials, let's talk about what's the science behind everything. So today we're going to be looking at how the blood actually flows into the heart chambers, and it's one direction because you have these things in your heart called valves. So these valves are like swinging doors kind of, but they only go one direction. They don't go the backwards direction, so they stop. So these doors will open and close when it's time for when the atrium is filled and it's time for the blood to go to the ventricle. So this also stops what they call backflow. So backflow is when, say like the blood goes from the atrium to the ventricle, it stops it from going from the ventricle to the atrium. So if you have some backflow, then that means you have like some type of heart condition. So let's talk about a little bit about what all this represents. So we have the 4 questions. We have some bottles. So our middle bottle, or our left bottle, will end up representing the atrium. We'll have a bottle that represents the ventricle. Then we'll have a bottle that represents the body or the lungs, depending on if you're talking about the right side or the left side. So remember, the right side of the heart goes to the lungs. The left side of the heart goes to the body. So it depends on what you're talking about, the left or the right, to determine what your empty bottle will represent. So you will also have your hands doing a particular job. And your hands will actually represent the valves of the heart. It's hard to kind of visualize right now as I'm talking, but once we get our heart model completed, then I will, talk about this again in more detail. So now that everyone has your materials, I have mine here in front of me. Let's begin. All right. So our first step, align your water bottles just like this, 3 in a row in front of you. They can be empty or they can be full. If they're empty, we'll end up filling them. It's okay. So your first water bottle that should be on your right-hand side, you're going to take this water bottle here. If it has something in it, you're going to empty it. So I have a bucket. I'm just going to pour it in. But if you have like a glass or something, because your other bottles may be empty, you can pour it in like your pitcher or whatever. That'll work too, so that you can use the water for the other ones if you need to. So let's empty our bottles. And while you're emptying your bottles, have your food coloring close by. And what we are going to do in the other 2 bottles, we are going to put red food coloring. So I'm going to open my middle bottle. Add like 4 drops of food coloring. Make sure my blood is really red. So at this point, if you have like a pitcher full of water, all you've got to do is just a pitcher or measuring cup, add like 5 to 10 drops of food coloring in there and take your spoon or whatever you have and stir it up to make sure you have some good blood. However, like I have water bottles full of water. So what you can do is just put the cap on and shake it a little bit so that you have your red bottle of water. And I'm going to do that for this one as well. So if you have this pitcher of water instead of a water bottle full of water, what you can go on ahead and do is start filling the two of your bottles, 2 out of 3 of your bottles, fill it with the red water. And if you want it a little darker, don't be afraid to add a little more food coloring. That'll work. And I'm gonna give you guys some time to do that. So remember, if your water bottles already have water in it, just add your food coloring to the bottles and mix them. If you don't, if your bottles are completely empty, have your pitcher, put your food coloring in there, mix it up, and pour it into your bottle. Your bottles don't have to be completely filled to the top. That's cool. If it's not, you can really have it, it could be, you know, as close to the top as you can get it. But don't have it full to the tip top. It's not gonna work. Make sure there's still some space from the water to the top of the bottle. All right. So I'm giving you guys a couple more seconds to finish that before I move to the next step. All right. So what's next is we are going to take our empty bottle and set that to the side because we're not going to worry about that right now. We need these 2 full bottles, and that's our focus right now. So what we are going to do, parents, please help your student, your child, with this portion because you're going to need your scissors and you're going to need to poke a hole in the top of your cap. So the way that I do it is I take my scissors, I open them, and I use the point. So what we're going to do, let me back up a little bit. What we are going to do is we are going to put holes side by side in the cap. So one more to the left, one more to the right on the cap. And we're going to try to put them as even as possible. But we're not going to put them so close that our holes run together. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to literally poke a hole just like that in the cap. All you have to do is just press down and it'll go through. So the way to open up the hole, because we need to make it big enough for the straw to fit snugly. We don't want it to where the straw is going to fit, slide in and out or anything like that. We want the straw to fit very snug in the hole. So it's 2 holes. Well, we're making the first hole on the right-hand side first, then we'll go and make the hole on the left-hand side. So make sure it's not dead center, that you're going to put 2 holes side by side. 2 holes side by side. So you're going to take your scissors and kind of twist it. When you twist it like that, it'll open the hole up just a little bit. So you should have a decent size hole. To check to see if your hole is the right size, just take one of your straws and see my hole's not big enough. So I'm going to have to take my scissors a little more and open the hole up a little. And to see, test it, take your straw and put it through the hole. As you can see, my straw doesn't slide when I shake it up or down, and it's pretty snug. But it's not snug enough to where it's pinching the straw so no airflow can go through it. So that hole is good. So what you're going to do next is take the scissors and make the same hole, but just right on the opposite side of it. Try to make it the same size. Do it again. Take your scissors, poke the hole, wiggle your scissors a little bit to open the hole up. We're going to take our straw. We're going to test it to make sure our straw fits. My straw is actually pinched too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors again, open my hole up a little more, and try it one more time. And as you can see again, my straw doesn't move. When I shake it, it's very, very snug. You got to pull it and push it to really move it. All right. So once you are done with that top, put it back on the bottle it goes on. please, and set it to the side. Be careful. Do not try to turn these bottles upside down so that, just remember, because it has the holes in the top, so you can't, you know, shake it or anything crazy. Just set it to the side. And I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds to finish up that step. And remember, make sure that your holes aren't so close together that it makes a big hole in the middle. Keep them far apart and make sure there's a gap. I'm going to try to show you guys my top one more time so that you can see. My holes are spaced apart. There's a gap in between here. So as you can see, there's two holes side by side in this top. All right. So what we're going to do next, we're going to go to our last red bottle. And this bottle is going to have one hole in the center. So just how we made the two holes, but they were side by side, we're just going to make one hole and it's going to go straight in the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors again, punch that hole, and twist to make sure my hole is big enough. Again, you remember we check with our straws. My hole's a little small. We're going to check with our straws again to make sure our straw has a tight fit, doesn't go up, doesn't go down. Just like this. So once you finish that, put that cap back on that bottle, and let's line our bottles up again. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to give you guys a second. Let me give you guys a second before I tell you how your bottle should be lined up. Remember, that last hole just goes in the center. There's not two holes, only one. All right. So you're going to take your water bottle that has the cap with one hole in the center. That's going to be on your left-hand side. You're going to take your bottle with the two holes in the center. That will be your middle bottle. And your last bottle should be empty with nothing in it. You're going to remove the cap, set the cap to the side, and that one is going to be on your right-hand side. All right. So our next step, what we are going to do, I need you guys to get out all four of your straws and your tape as well. All right. So what you're going to do with these four straws, take two of them, fold them at a 90-degree angle. Bend your two straws at a 90-degree angle, just like this. So what we're going to do with these two straws, we're going to take them and we're going to put one of this tip inside the other one. So what you're going to have to do is pinch your straw just a little bit, but don't pinch it all the way to where no air can go through it. Just pinch it a little bit so it can slide right inside. So you may have to try to put one side in and push the other side down a little bit to get it inside the other straw. It may take a second because this normally takes me a little second to do it. Or you may be professionals at this. Who knows? I'm not. I really can't get it in. Okay. Let's see. I know this might take a second, just like it's taking me a second. Really? Well, if I could get it, maybe I could go to the next step for you guys. I'm gonna try another straw. Mm-mm. Well, y'all, this was, let me see. There we go. Oh, it came out. Here we go. So just like this, and I pulled it out. Make sure your straws fit inside of each other, just like this. And it'll make like, kind of like a rectangle shape without it. Cool. So now what we are going to do, we're going to do our second set. Hopefully this one doesn't take me 10 years. Let's try it again. Mm-hmm. Yep, just like that. So now we have 2 sets of these. It may take you a second, just like it took me the first one, but once you get the first one, you kind of get the second one. So now you should have 2. So what we are going to do with these next is we're going to actually put them in our bottles, and then our model should work. So I'm going to give you guys a couple tips before we do that portion. Say your straw is sliding through your hole, burying, like it's going too easy. It's not an airtight seal. So what you can do is you can grab a piece of your Scotch tape, and you can, about midway through the straw, put the Scotch tape like this and just wrap it around the straw as thick as you need it so that your straw will be in there really snug. So really, really snug. So that'll make it an airtight seal. Or if you have the clay and your straw's moving, what you can do is just put a little piece of clay. I'll show you at the end. Put a little piece of clay where you're going to put your straw so that that airtight seal will be there. So let's keep our straws in place by adding just a little piece of tape. Wherever your straws connect at the end, just take that tape and wrap it around there. Just like that, right here. Because that's where my straws meet. And I'm going to do it one more time. With the second set of straws. Yep, just like this. So now it won't really leak when we push the water through. So what we are going to do next after this, we are going to take, so you have a hole on the left, your middle bottle has a hole on the left and on the right. So the hole in the left, you're going to stick the straw in. You may need to open your hole up a little more. So I put my straw in the left hole. That other straw is going to go in that middle hole in the left, in the bottle on the left. Just like this. And try to have the straw kind of even so that it's not tilting or anything like that. Just like that. So, as you guys can guess, what we're going to do with our second set of straws is we're going to put it in the right hole and then put the other straw, we're going to put one of the straws in the right hole, the other straw in the empty bottle. Let me open that up just a tad more. Put that straw in that bottle and just have this one going straight into the other bottle. I like to keep mine level just because that's me, but you can have one higher than the other. It doesn't really matter. I like to just try to keep it as even as possible though. All right. So like I said, say you don't have that airtight seal like you want it. What you can do, pinch off a little piece of clay or Play-Doh and just mold it around your straw. Any of your straws to provide a seal. But mine are sealed pretty tight because my straws are in there really snug. So I don't really need the clay. It's just to show you guys if you need it because your holes are a little too big. You can go on ahead and mold it around the straws. You can do this for that bottle on the left-hand side too. I'm just going to show you guys on the middle bottle. Just like that. All right. So what we're going to look at. So I told you guys we're going to talk about looking at the model. We're going to talk about it. So our bottle on the left-hand side, you remember we said the blood goes from an atrium to a ventricle, whether it's the right side or the left side. So this is our atrium. And the middle bottle will be our ventricle, right? And this will be either the lungs or the body. So say we're talking about the right side of our heart. This will be our right atrium. This bottle on the left will be our right atrium. This bottle in the middle will be our right ventricle. And then the bottle on the right will be our lungs because our blood needs oxygen at that point. But say we have our oxygen, we're on the left side of our heart. This will be the left atrium, your left bottle. Your middle bottle will be the left ventricle. And then the right-hand bottle will be your body because the left side of our heart pumps blood throughout our body. So let's see how this works. In our hands are the valves. So you remember I said our valves are like doors that open like this. When it's time for the blood to go from an atrium to a ventricle, our valves just open like that. So let's act like our valves. Our fingers are our valves. And we're opening up. And when we open up, the blood goes from the atrium to our ventricle, then it supplies our body with blood or our lungs. Just like that. So this is how your heart model works, and that is the atrium. Remember, our left bottle, the bottle full of water, is our atrium. Our middle bottle is our ventricle, and then the empty bottle that we're putting water into is the lungs or our body. Watch it one more time. And our hands are our valves, which are like the doors in our heart that open like this when it's time for the blood to go to the next chamber of the heart, which is from an atrium to the ventricle. You can also try like pinching off certain areas and see what happens. And acting like different blockages or stuff in the heart so that you can learn about different conditions. So now that we are finished with our model, let's go on ahead and review those questions that we had at the beginning. So these questions are going to pop up on a poll on your screen like they did earlier. So our first question, what does our middle bottle represent? What did we just talk about? What does our middle bottle represent? I'm going to give you guys like 45 seconds to answer this question. So go on ahead and submit your answers. Couple more seconds. Is it the ventricle, the heart beating, the lungs? What does that middle bottle represent? That's right. The middle bottle represents the ventricle. We said it goes from the atrium to the ventricle, then either to the body or the lungs. So let's talk about our second question. What is the bottle full of water, which is our bottle on our left-hand side? Our bottle on our left-hand side, our first bottle, what does that represent? Does it represent the valves? Does it represent the ventricle? Does it represent the atrium? What does it represent? Give you guys like 45 seconds to answer this question. Couple more seconds. All right, yes, that is correct. The bottle full of water on your left-hand side does represent your atrium. So we have two more questions. I know we normally do three, but all of these parts are important in this model, so you're understanding what you're looking at. So our third question, what does the empty bottle represent? That's the bottle on the right-hand side. What does that represent? Remember, this bottle, it determines if you're talking about the left side or the right side, but both answers are there. Our empty bottle, does it represent our ventricle? Does it represent the lungs or the body? Or does it represent the valves? Give you guys a couple more seconds. Right, yes, that empty bottle represents the lungs or the body. So our last question for today, before we end our session, what do our hands represent? Do they represent the valves, the blood vessels, or the atrium? Give you guys about 45 seconds to answer this one. Couple more seconds. Remember, our hands are acting as a certain thing that's in our heart. Right. Our hands or our fingers act as the valves. So remember, our valves are like the doors that open and close. So our hands are what acts like those valves. So that is it from me today. So now we're going to give you guys a chance for question and answers. There's a box at the bottom that says Q&A. So go on ahead and drop your questions in there. And Dr. Griggs and Dr. Mackie will be back on the screen so that you guys can ask whatever questions you need to. Are there going to be more Thursday classes?
Yes, there will be Thursday classes throughout the summer. We'll definitely be doing these classes through August, if not September. And then based on whatever happened with the pandemic and the way school responds, we may keep it going year round. The response has been so great that we want to make sure that we're putting STEM right where all of our kids can get it. So yes, we'll be doing this throughout the summer, every Thursday. Now I know next week or week after, we're gonna have to change the time. Next week, we'll change the time from 1 p.m. Central to 2 p.m. Central, because we're going to have a special guest and a partner, the National Center for Cybersecurity will be our special presenter next week, 2 p.m. Central. Any questions? So before we go, I just want to tell you about different offerings we have coming up. Not only do we have the Thursday sessions, which will be forever free, but we have summer camps through June and July. STEM Nola, we have approximately 8 weeks of summer camps. And this is our STEM Nola box. When you register for our summer camp, we ship the box to your house, and it's a box of activities that we'll lead you through in Zoom. We have like one camp around buoyancy and density, and this will be the build. It's like our boat kit. This is a kit with a motor and switch and all. These are for like middle school to high school. They'll build a boat and rate, and make sure it floats in your bathtub. This is a K through second grade box. There are all different types of kits, activities that you can do from the STEM Nola box. Soon we'll be announcing, also in our 8 weeks of STEM Nola camps, we're going to have a robotics camp, and at robotics camps, we'll be partnered with our partner, UB Tech Robotics, and you'll be using the Jimu robots from UB Tech. And you'll get one of these different types of animals that you'll make at home, and we'll teach you how to program it in code over Zoom, and you'll put together your robot. Now, in partnership not only with UB Tech, but with one of our local partners, Chevron Gulf of Mexico Business Unit, we will be announcing soon another robotics camp, and this would be only for the kids in the New Orleans area. I'm sorry. UB Tech is running this camp all across the country, but we need the people in New Orleans, the 9 parish region, the greater New Orleans area to register, and we will mail you a UB Tech robotics kit. You have the beginner's kit and the advanced kit. You can register for either one of these classes, and it'll come directly to you. STEM Nola and Chevron is going to make this available to upward of 200 kids in the New Orleans area for absolutely free if you qualify to meet the needs of the scholarship. So we have a lot going on this summer. We have over 50 students registered. First and foremost, let's give Lamaya a hand. Lamaya has been with STEM Nola now for over 4 years. She's a graduate student at Xavier University and Tulane University and getting a master's in public health. She got a BS in biology from Xavier University. And in a year, we'll be watching her go off to medical school. So, we're just so happy that Lamaya has been a part of our life, our family here at STEM Nola, and that's what we want to do for kids all across this country. So, we have a question. What happens when a part of the heart does not work well? Yep. Lamaya.
So if your heart isn't working well, you may want to check a couple things. So make sure your bottle caps are on there very tight. Make sure they're as tight as possible. You may not have a good airtight seal, so you may want to add the tape around your straws to get that airtight seal when you slide them in this portion. You may, if you have the clay, you may want to add that too. Also make sure that your straws aren't pinched. The straws here, well, the one that's inside the other one, make sure that it's not pinched so that air can't flow through it either. So check those things to see if they are, if there's anything wrong with any of those, and that should solve your problem.
Mm-hmm. So that's what happens in the heart that you built. In the body, when one part of the heart or any part of the heart doesn't work because everything works together, the whole thing can break down, and it can lead to a thing called heart failure. Remember, the heart is the center of your body to get blood everywhere it needs to go. If the parts of the heart break down, other parts of the body can't function. So your heart is essential. That's why you have to get checked, get fit, get moving, go to the doctor, eat healthy foods, and exercise to keep a healthy heart. And it is 60,000 miles in the body of blood vessels, by the way. 60,000 miles. In adults, it could be up to 100,000 miles if you stretch them out at length. So we got a lot of blood vessels. Doc?
Great. So again, remember, in this period of COVID, since the beginning of time, Mother Nature is going to do what she does. And since the beginning of time, Mother Nature has been spewing her poison towards man, and man has been fighting Mother Nature. So there's only 3 ways we can fight Mother Nature's venom. And one way we can fight Mother Nature's venom is through, we could tame it, right, through a vaccination. Well, with COVID-19, we don't have a vaccination. The other way we can fight Mother Nature's venom, like in COVID, is through medication. We can medicate it, but we don't have any medication. So the third way that we only can fight Mother Nature's venom is through mitigation. And that's what we are practicing now. First type of mitigation is social distance. Make sure that you stay at least 6 feet away from everybody, because when you talk normally, the fluid that come out of your mouth or the particles will drop before they reach that person in a normal conversation. And the second thing we must do is that we must wear our mask, because our mask produce drag that otherwise stop the particles from reaching the next person, even if they're closer. We believe that if everyone wears a mask, we can mitigate COVID down to 75, 80% within a 2 to 3 week period. Because remember, the virus does not transfer itself. People transfer the virus. So we have to mitigate the virus. Before we go, we have 2 more questions. We're gonna let Dr. Griggs answer them before we get out, because we're running over, but we wanna make sure that you get your answers, your questions answered. Here we have Dr. Griggs.
We've got some great questions. I'm going to talk to Heather real quick. So I want you to know what happens. She wants us to know, can you show us what happens when someone has a heart attack? Well, I'm going to let you show us what happens when we have a heart attack. I want you to clap. The heart is a muscle, right? And as we clap, there's a rhythm. Let's just say something goes wrong. And you work, the rest of the body has to concentrate and work harder to get blood going where it goes. Keep going. Keep going. Faster, faster, faster. Is it getting weak yet? Getting tired yet? Oh, keep going, go. Oh. Do you feel the stiffness in your muscles and the lactic acid building up and things not getting oxygen the way they go, and eventually it stops. And once it stops, the blood stops flowing. And once the blood stops flowing, there's no oxygen to the parts of the body, every part of the body that needs it. And once there's no oxygen, things stop. But if a person's right there and in time, they can start CPR and push blood and pump the oxygen where it needs to go so the heart can function without wearing out. And that's basically a quick simulation of a heart attack. The heart is a muscle. There are blood vessels that supply the muscles of the heart. And if they get blocked or damaged and can't supply oxygen to those muscles, they can't function. Once the heart can't function, it has to work harder. And then it works so hard, eventually that it stops. Now, I got a question from anonymous attendee. I like you. You always sit in the front of the class because you're in alphabetic order. If blood without oxygen enters the right atrium, let's follow the path. Blood with no oxygen enters the right atrium, then goes down to the right ventricle and is pumped back to the lungs. Whoa, I breathe in for a reason. We breathe in oxygen in the lungs. And there are these things in the lungs called the alveoli that have capillaries, or the smallest blood vessels. And that's where the oxygen exchange comes from. Once we get the oxygen, we go into the left atrium, it's down to the left ventricle, and then out to the body. Now, in a regular heartbeat for Miss Jacqueline, is that when we were doing the regular rhythm, everything was moving fine. It's like a clock, tick, tick. What happens is there was damage to the heart for whatever reason, and instead of beat, it went beat, 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 because it's trying to work to do whatever it can, because the most important function is to get blood all the way throughout the body, from the tips of your toes to the tip of your nose and everywhere in between. And if it can't do it regularly, it'll do what it can to try to get there, and you'll get an irregular beat. Dr. Mackie?
Great. Yeah, give Dr. Griggs a hand. We'd love to see Dr. Griggs do his thing. If you have not been with us the first couple of weeks, you can go to stemnola.com and then look at STEM Nola at home. And we have the recordings of all of the activities that we've done in the past. Plus, we have the activity cards that you can download. One of the activities that we did was the lung, where students built a functional lung, and Dr. Griggs led the whole lung demonstration, just like he led this heart demonstration. And I think you should go take a look at it. So once again, thank you all for chiming in. To our friends in Ghana, till we see you all again next week, everyone have a great time and a great weekend, and stay safe. STEM Nola out.